some bombshell news actually came out yesterday. There's a group of young Republicans in New York who had their private chat and private group chat, their messages leaked. So there were thousands of messages that came out, and there was people who were in the leadership of this young Republican group. Some of the messages that came out highlighted that inside the Republican Party there is homophobia, there's racism towards blacks, and there's also anti-Semitism, which is hatred towards Jews. I'm going to read some of the messages that came out. It was many, so I picked a couple that I thought were interesting that the viewers may want to hear about. One of the big ones it says was "I love Hitler," and obviously Hitler was behind the Holocaust and the rounding up of Jews. Some were killed, some were sent to Israel, which we now have the Israel-Hamas war. Well, the war is over, but that situation is somewhat because of when the Jews left Germany and other places in Europe and they came to the Middle East. It was a tension between the IDF and the people of Palestine, Gaza, Jordan, etc. But the Republicans in this group were saying that they love Hitler. One guy said, "You're giving nationals too much credit and expecting Jews to be honest." So he's kind of highlighting a stereotype about Jews. One is that Jews have a lot of money. Another is that Jews are liars. So he's speaking ill about Jewish people, just as when you say you love Hitler, it's kind of a slap in the face towards the Jewish people who were devastated and harmed by his actions. Another comment, another message was, "Everyone that votes no is going to end up in a gas chamber." And someone actually in that chat put the fire emoji, so they were kind of hyping him up. These are all despicable things to say about Jewish people. And because of this and some of the other things that I'm going to read, the Republican Party is disavowing these particular members of the young Republicans, and they're trying to separate themselves from these individuals. One of them said, "Great, I love Hitler." There are also some comments about black people, which were disparaging. One person said they love the watermelon people, which is a reference to how people say that black people love watermelons and they love chickens, which I mean, I actually like watermelons. I love chickens, and I don't see what's wrong with liking those things, but some black people are offended by the stereotype. I understand it's meant to be degrading, so I mean, I don't appreciate it, and I do find it racist, but also sometimes it's ironic that the things people try to highlight as negative about certain groups are like positive things. Like they say Jewish people have money. Well, if they're working hard, if they're intelligent, I mean, yes, you can be trying to poke fun at them, but kind of the joke's on you when you're saying, well, they're doing well. It's a conspiracy. It's like they're doing well because they're working hard. One said, "I go to the zoo if I wanted to watch a monkey play ball." I guess that's again a reference to calling black people monkeys, or saying we're animals. Blacks do well in sports, or whether they're fast or whether they're quick and agile, etc. So some people like to dehumanize us and compare us to animals. It's old stuff that people have been doing. I mean, I would say since the 60s, because I heard that from the elders. But even back before into slavery, when they were treating us like chattel and beating us, etc., they compared us to animals and said we were savages. It's all like the same old tired line from Republicans. And what's sad is that there's already a belief, as I've covered on the podcast, that minorities feel that the conservatives are really just about white males. So the individuals that were a part of this group chat were for white males. So it kind of just highlights and brings more light on the fact that there's a portion of the Republican Party who's anti-Jewish, anti-Semitic, and somewhat hates Jews. Same thing for blacks. They're against blacks. They look down on blacks. They talk bad about blacks. I'm surprised there's not a nigger comment in here somewhere, but just that outlook that people have on Republicans. You have young leaders who are supposed to be the next generation of Republicans, and they seem to be following the same beliefs and the same narrative that previous Republicans had back in the 1980s and also the 1960s. So at a later date, I may discuss, because I seen in the comments, I know I'm going on a tangent again, but I seen in the comments someone was trying to educate me on how the KKK was Democratic. Yes, I understand that the Democrats started the KKK, but in the 1960s, there was somewhat of a shift between not the parties per se, but the people in the parties. At one point, the rural South was Democratic. And then after the Jim Crow era into civil rights, people who were Southern whites who used to vote Democrat began to vote Republican. So though the ideals of the parties may have stayed the same, when the people switched, many of the minorities who were black, who used to be Republicans, switched over to Democrats because they didn't want to align themselves with people who they thought were racist, because they felt that these people who were racist, as I discussed last episode with David Duke, they felt like these people who were racist were going to implement policies that were going to hold black people back. So another time I'll do a deep dive on the Democrat, Republicans, and the Whigs and all these things, the various shifts in the American political scene. See, they also made jokes about rape, which speaks to how people look at, like I said, conservative white males. They look at the Republicans as anti-feminist, anti-women, people who look at women who should be traditional wives, people who should stay in the home. So them making a joke about rape kind of plays at the fact of them saying that the Me Too movement and the struggles that women talk about are not as significant and as serious as the women are trying to state. So there's just a bunch of things in private that came out in public that people already thought about Republicans. So this is why Republicans, if you're having trouble getting out young voters or getting out blacks or getting out Hispanics or getting out Jewish people, it's because people hear your policies and they hear what you're saying in the mainstream. But when we look at private messages and we think about the dog whistles that you use, we continuously see that no, the Republicans still have not truthfully disavowed the Nick Fuentes's of the world, the David Dukes of the world, the young Republicans. Y'all speak about being against those people, but indeed in private, those are the same people that are in your party and you work with them. So as far as we're concerned, we're very hesitant and skeptical to believe that we should support you guys, because we believe that you are lying to our faces. You are saying you respect us, but behind closed doors, you're working on policies and you're carrying out beliefs and behaving in a manner that would suggest that you are racist, that you are bigots, that you are against the LGBT and you are against women. Again, this is a statement that came from the board of directors from the Young Republicans, who are, publicly they are stating this, but as far as I'm concerned, I would assume I'm not saying that necessarily the board of directors has the same things going on in their group chat as this group, but it wouldn't be shocking or surprising, right? People say birds of a feather flock together. So though they're putting out this public statement, which I'm going to read, it's hard to really believe them, because those Republicans whose messages leaked, people, they probably publicly were saying that they were okay with blacks. They just were criticizing the black community, or they were okay with Jewish people, but they may have just been asking questions, right? You may put on a public front like I'm not saying Charlie put on a public front, but I'm saying you can ask questions or provide criticism and say, oh, this is how I feel. But the reason why people take it further than what Charlie said is people probably felt that if he's saying this publicly, what does he really feel behind closed doors, right? I'm honest. I tell you guys what I believe in the moment, and I'm open. But a lot of people feel that most people, because of their jobs and various circumstances, they're not as open. So people kind of believe that if you give them a slimmer of something negative, they think, oh, there's much more negativity behind what they're actually saying than what they just said. But to read this statement from the board of directors, it says, "We are appalled by the vile and inexcusable language revealed by the political article published today. Such behavior is disgraceful, unbecoming of any Republican, and stands in direct opposition to the values of our movement represents." This is a great statement, but again, I personally don't even believe that that's true. I believe the Republican values that they present are great. Family, God, faith, America first. These are all wonderful slogans, and majority of Americans can get behind that. Again, the problem just is people believe that the people saying these things don't really believe it in practice and in their personal lives. They believe that deep down there's rooted hatred and I don't want to say many, but a significant portion of Republicans. To continue this statement, they said those involved must immediately resign from all positions within their state and local young Republican organizations. I agree with that. I think they should resign. The question, though, becomes, are you just asking them to resign because this became public? If you had known this behind closed doors, would you still be asking them to resign if it had not come out to the public eye? We must hold ourselves to the highest standards of integrity, respect, and professionalism. well, you know me, I'm kind of like fuck the professionalism, but integrity and respect I think is important. So I would just ask all Republicans and all Democrats, because as we've seen with the Charlie Kirk situation, there are many people who are promoting or okay with violence. We should hold both sides accountable, that we hold ourselves to the highest integrity and the highest level of respect. And then also with regards to this, I actually saw online something highlighting some of the anti-Semitism that I was stating that people hold towards Jewish people. This person, Sam Parker, who I'm not sure why I follow him, but I don't block people. I've seen him say a bunch of anti-Semitic things, and in response to this situation, he actually came out and provided evidence stating that the guy who leaked this stuff, Gavin M. Wax, is Jewish, which I guess this is going to go down the conspiracy theory of it happened because he's Jewish and he was trying to maybe cause problems within the Republican movement. I'm not sure, but Sam's statement is, what if I told you a Jew infiltrated a political space, got dirt on someone, and used extortion to gain access to people's free speech, then expose those people's free speech in order to get them canceled? Actually, you know, I kind of try to be fair and objective. It's kind of funny what he said, like playing, like, I don't know, some of the Jew jokes are funny to me, but then I don't like them because of the anti-Semitism that the Republicans were showing. I guess I gotta be fair and nuanced. Okay, if the Republicans don't feel the way everyone thinks, like when they're calling the people monkeys, they're saying rape's okay, and they're talking about watermelon people, it could be a joke, right? So, oh man, I'm gonna sound crazy. I don't know these people. Let's say I knew these Republicans, and let's say they don't hold harbor towards black people, and it's just like a joke, right? It's a very offensive joke, and to me, it's like too harsh. But then it's like, maybe if you know them as people, they have black friends, they have Jewish friends. Maybe they have said some of these things with their Jewish friends and their black friends. So I doubt it, right? I feel like most people aren't like me. Like, I'll tell a Jewish person something. Like, I've sent tweets to people who are Jewish, and I've DM'd my Jewish friends now that my podcast has come out. Like, I say everybody can get it, right? So my thing is like, it's not private how I feel about Jews or blacks or Republicans or Democrats. So I think that when this chat came out, I think those Republicans were embarrassed. I think that they meant those things, and I think the reason they were embarrassed is because they meant it in a negative way. See, me, I could laugh at this Jewish joke and know, like, okay, I have no problem with Jewish people. I'm just following some of the jokes. I'm following some of the narratives. Some of the things about Jews is like, it's not true about the whole group, but like, you know, I'll say this, stereotypes come from truths. So for example, when kind of another rant, but like when I look at IQ scores, and GIQ is like the test scores when you can study for, versus the standard IQ, which you can't study for, which is like memory and problem solving, etc. You look at the test scores and you'll see blacks are in a certain place, then it's Hispanics, then it's whites, then it's Asians, and then above the Asians is actually Jewish people. So that's why sometimes I say, well, Jewish people are doing well because they're working hard and performing well. So to me, instead of thinking it's a conspiracy theory, I look at the data. It says they're performing better, they're more qualified for the high skilled jobs. Those jobs pay more. So I look at it from the standpoint of maybe they're doing well not because of a conspiracy, but maybe they're doing well because of their intelligence. So I say all that to say, as a person who's now somewhat in front of the public, I can see like, okay, you may make a joke and the joke is not serious. Like with me laughing at this, I'm just laughing at kind of like the Jews, let's say there's Jewish lawyers or something. Oh, there's Jewish people behind the media. That can be a joke, but then the problem becomes sometimes you look into things and people, like a guy just bought TikTok, right? So now if anything happens with TikTok and they ban somebody who says something that's against Israel, people start looking at it and saying the Jews are behind it. And when you make those statements, the problem is people who aren't nuanced like me take it too far, and they may say, oh, it's Jewish people and it's something being taught in the home and every Jewish person is learning this. I've heard the term goy before. So I think that's like the Jewish people's way of calling other people who are Gentiles like a derogatory statement. So there are some people who actually believe, and I'm not this kind of person, they believe that Jews are running around being taught you're better than other people. And because of that, they treat other people as less and see other people as less. So the problem is when you have people openly stating this, some people start to believe it, and that causes people to feel like they can have hatred towards Jews, and sometimes that hatred turns into people setting Jews on fire or attacking Jews or killing Jews or shooting them. And that's why I say it's gonna be tough. What this show is, what I'm trying to do through this show is like, okay, let's have a dialogue. Let's say freedom of speech is important. Let's let people talk. So though I'm actually upset with what they said, the young Republicans, and though I disagree with it, honestly trying to keep my word of what I said I'm trying to do with this show, maybe there are other Republicans who feel this way, right? So I do understand why they want to take them out of leadership, and I understand why they might need to resign, but I also think that it would do the country better as a whole if, instead of just removing them and try to silence them, let's look at this and let's see about having a conversation with people. Now that this has come out and we see that this is in the Republican Party, it's clearly on the Democratic side with the people talking about Charlie Kirk getting killed, right? How about instead of us canceling everybody for everything, because we can't cancel everybody, then nobody will be working. How about we start questioning these people who make these statements and see how they feel and how they do in the limelight? So these Republicans who said all these things, maybe let's have them debate some blacks and see how they do, right? Because I think they'll be even more embarrassed, not by what they said, but if they have to sit there and debate some of the blacks and the Democrats, Republicans, Libertarians, whatever, if they have to start debating them and people start voting on those debates or seeing how they do publicly, they might be more embarrassed that they don't even perform well against us monkeys, right? Because as humans, y'all should do much better than us monkeys. But I don't even think these young Republicans and some of the whites who talk down on us blacks would even fare well if they were in a debate with us or if they were asked to defend their policies and their beliefs. Same thing. They're saying all these things about Jews. How about have these guys in a public forum, right? The young Republicans, y'all have money. Have them sit there and debate some of the people who are either hostages, members of the families who are hostages, or Holocaust survivors, right? So there are a lot of Jewish people who have been through things and they know about their culture. We ought to put some of these people who are running their mouth in private and get caught. We need to put some of them on the hot seat and have them answer these questions. Since they think that the Holocaust wasn't real, well, let them prove it wasn't real. Since they think blacks are dumb, let them prove blacks aren't dumb. But again, as more news comes out about both sides, their extremes, as more news comes out, we will be covering that on the podcast. As well as, again, I suggest that if possible, us Americans who are in the middle, who don't pay as much attention to politics, I suggest that we become more vocal so that we can be a part of the shift that we want to see. The silent majority, I believe, wants compromise, and I believe we want a better functioning government. So I think we need to let the politicians know, and I also think we need to become more vocal. So if you don't want to get on camera like myself and share your opinions, retweet, not just myself, but retweet other people who are saying the positive things that we like. Because the gang algorithms promote what people are reacting to. So if we react to positivity, even quietly, we can promote it out there and really piss off the extremes. So hopefully more people who are in line with what I'm thinking and the positive vibe I'm trying to get out become more active and vocal, and we can affect the change we're looking for. If you like this video, please smash the like button, comment, and subscribe. New shows airing Monday through Thursday.